Hey, what's up guys, TechTine here, and I am back again with a brand new video. So real quickly, I want to thank you all so much for watching my content. If you enjoy my videos, as always, make sure you leave a thumbs up, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and check out more of my content. Links will be in the description below. With that being said, today I'm finally doing the comparison that a lot of you asked for, which is the Samsung Galaxy A13 LTE model versus the A13 5G model. And they're more different than you think. So let's go ahead and get started, and the first thing we're going to cover and talk about is the design itself. So when it comes to design, they both have similar characteristics as far as looks, but kind of a not a different choice in materials, but different way that they utilize the materials. So the A13 5G has a matte plastic finish with kind of a smooth kind of feel to it, which makes it more slippery. And the A13 LTE model has this glossy material that does catch a lot of fingerprint, but is a little bit more grippy. So keep that in mind when you're making your purchasing decision. And as far as everything else, as far like button placements, the power button, which acts as a fingerprint sensor, the volume up and down, they're placed exactly the same and they operate in the exact same way. So same with the I/O as well, your headphone jack, your loudspeaker, your microphone, and as well as the fast charging USB-C port. And on the top of the devices, you do have the cameras. So the A13 LTE model has a quad camera setup, whereas the A13 5G has a triple camera setup. And trust me, we're going to be talking about these cameras extensively later on in the video. So just stay tuned for it. So let's switch things up and talk about the display of these phones. And we're going to go ahead and start with the A13 5G, which has a 6.5-inch 1600 by 720p. So it is a 720p panel, but it does have a feature that the A13 LTE does not have, and I'll talk about it in a second. And the Galaxy A13 LTE model has a 6.6-inch 2408 by 1080p. So as far as the quality goes, I do lean slightly towards the A13 5G. However, resolution definitely without a doubt goes to the A13 LTE. Now, there are benefits to the A13 5G that it has that the LTE model does not have, which is the ability to have a higher refresh rate at 90 Hertz. So that definitely is a nice thing to have. However, as far as I think, me personally, resolution definitely beats the high refresh rate that the A13 5G has. So as far as quality goes when it comes to content consumption, here's how I can break it down for you. So the phone on the top is the LTE model, the one on the bottom is the 5G model. And if you can see, I don't know if the camera is going to do it justice, but the skin tone and the colors and the overall picture just looks slightly more saturated and makes the color pop on the A13 5G, which again is at the bottom, whereas the standard LTE model it looks like it's a little bit washed. But they both have advantages, they both have disadvantages. As far as screen, like I said, you will be getting a higher resolution on the LTE model, but the quality, if you can dumb it down to 720p, is better on the A13 5G. I just wish that we can both get quality, the high refresh rate, and the resolution. So if you combine these displays together, you get that. And that's the story behind the display. Now let's flip the script. Now let's flip the next page and talk about the specifications and the specs of both of these devices. So I did do a Geekbench, and let me tell you, this is one of the major differences that I think should apply to your purchasing decision. Bottom line is this: the A13 5G outperforms the A13 LTE model. Starting with the benchmark scores, the A13 LTE, which is to my left, has a 148 and a 580 single and multi-core score, whereas the A13 5G has a score of where the A13 5G has a score of 452 and 1102. It's a massive difference, and I know that these are just benchmarks, but even beyond the benchmarks, when it comes to the daily tasks, when it comes to doing your everyday needs, when it comes to bringing out like the everyday needs of these phones, the A13 5G has the A13 LTE model beat in every single way. And as far as the paper specs though, you do have on the LTE model, you do have an Exynos 850 chip, which is not really that powerful. It is octa-core, and a Mali G52 is your GPU. And this particular model that I have in stock is 32 gigabytes of storage and 3 gigabytes of RAM, whereas the A13 5G has a where the A13 5G has a MediaTek MT6833 700 nanometer based on a 7 nanometer architecture. It is also octa-core. However, it is faster and can just do more in general. And this phone, the model that I have, has 64 gigabytes of storage and 4 gigabytes of RAM. So everything on the A13 5G just screams better as far as the specs. So keep that in mind. So now let's talk about the fun part, or the most important part for a lot of people, which is camera quality. So we're gonna start with the A13 5G, and it has a main sensor of a 50 megapixel camera. It has a 2 megapixel macro and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. And as far as the A13 LTE, I think in the specs department, it has the A13 5G beat because it adds a functional camera. So a 50 megapixel main sensor as well, but an addition of a 5 megapixel ultra wide sensor, which is not found on the more expensive A13 5G. So I don't know if Samsung made a mistake or realized their mistake after they released the A13 5G, but you do get an ultra wide on the A13 LTE. And as far as the sensor goes, I did read in a couple of articles that it's about the same sensor. The main differences that you will see is in the image processing, which is the processor used to basically give you a final result of an image. And I did separate reviews on both of these cameras. For if you want more detailed look, they will be in the description below. But basically the bottom line story, here's my findings and my kind of results. So the A13 LTE tends to, in my experience, overexpose, not as saturated or not as poppy as the A13 5G. So the pictures don't pop as much, they're not as vibrant as the A13 5G. And the A13 5G does produce an overall better image, and I think that's due to having a better processor. And the A13 LTE also struggles when it comes to focusing. So even in, like, if you want to do autofocus, it struggles in that. That's the A13 LTE model. But the A13 5G does a pretty good job and just gets the job done a little bit more than the A13 LTE. So that's that for camera. Definitely a compromise on the A13 5G because you don't get the addition of ultra wide. But as quality, it is better quality than the A13 LTE. So keep that in mind. So again, I mean, I know I'm saying it too much, but yeah, just check out the links in the description for a more in-depth camera review. But quality does go to the A13 5G. However, the features do go to the A13 LTE. So you tell me, which one would you prefer? Personally, I would take the quality of the A13 5G. I know I'm going to be sacrificing that ultra wide, but that's just what it is. I'm willing to take that sacrifice. So now I'm going to be comparing the prices between these two phones, and then I will give you guys a final conclusion. So the A13 LTE base model comes in at around $199.99 for MSRP, and that gets you the 32 gigabytes of storage as well as the 3 gigabytes of RAM. And the A13 5G comes in at $269.99, so around a $70 difference, and that gets you 4 gigabytes of RAM and 64 gigabytes of storage. And as far as features go, the difference in a summary is this. So the A13 5G gives you better performance, better quality camera, and gives you 90 hertz display as well as 5G capability. So the A13 LTE, on the other hand, does not give you a 5G capability, but it does give you a higher resolution display. I do think that the quality is slightly better on the A13 5G, but you still nevertheless get a high resolution display, and you also get an ultra wide in addition to the main camera. So really, to justify this, is it worth paying $70 for lower resolution, better camera, better performance? Yeah, it is, honestly. But at the same time, my thinking is this. So this is going to be my conclusion. I wish that some of the features that the A13 LTE has can go to the A13 5G, right? So why can't the A13 5G has a 1080p display, a higher refresh rate, and a wide angle? I think then you would justify and you would make a case to just get the A13 5G, and it would have been like a no-brainer. But because of like the compromises that you're gonna make either way, either like if you get the A13 LTE or the A13 5G, you're gonna make sacrifices on either end. So it's up to you at this point to determine whether these sacrifices for either phone will be worth it. Me personally, I would get the A13 5G. I know I'm gonna be sacrificing resolution and a wide angle camera, but in addition, I will get a better performance, a better quality camera, and a 90 hertz display. So with that being said, tell me what you guys think. Which phone would you get? So would you roll with the A13 LTE, save 70 bucks, but get lower storage? Or would you pay that $70 more and just get 5G, higher storage, and more RAM? So let me know what you think. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And I will definitely catch you guys in the next one really soon. So thank you all so much for watching.